Hey there, today I'm sharing my real-life productivity journey as a busy professional in a highly competitive corporate world. When I finished my PhD and landed a job at one of the biggest pharma companies back in 2013, I hit the ground running, swamped with work from day one. I was highly ambitious and determined to climb that corporate ladder, but I quickly found myself hustling non-stop. It was the first time I realized that burnout is a real thing. As you'll see in this video, I learned that burnout doesn't stem from working too much, but from working excessively without feeling fulfilled at the end of the day. I was stuck in firefighter mode every day. I was serving who was screaming the loudest. Over my 8 years at the company, I figured out how to succeed without burning out, managing to take over 2 teams and refine my process to boost cross-department performance. I also wasn't the only one struggling with these problems, which is why I saw plenty of people chasing fancy productivity methods and hacks that promised miracles, and I tested them all too. So that's what I will share with you in this video today and my experiences from these methods. Spoiler alert, there isn't one single method or hack that will solve all your problems. The key is to get a holistic view of what's really going on in your work life and what an end-to-end productivity system really means. So stick with me until the end to see how everything came together. Now let's explore 13 productivity methods and hacks that haven't worked for me as a busy professional, along with what I've done instead to succeed and thrive at work.
Baby, let's move, man. Your productivity, your way.
So myth number 1, being busy means being productive. For a long time, I equated being busy with being productive. I'd work 10 to 13 hours a day, always looking swamped. But when the day ended, I rarely felt like I'd made any real progress. I eventually realized that being busy with endless shallow tasks doesn't really move you forward. Instead, I started concentrating on the big, meaningful tasks while letting the less important stuff fill in the gaps. It's not about filling every minute, it's about making every minute count. But how do you identify those tasks and find time to complete them? This question led me to the Pomodoro technique, which became my first attempt to regain control of my workload. So myth number 2, Pomodoro technique works for everyone. When my tasks piled up and I started falling behind in delivering things on time, I first tried the Pomodoro technique. The idea of working with full focus for 25 minutes and then taking a 5-minute break sounded great. But in reality, those short breaks felt more like unwelcome interruptions, like someone coming in and asking, "Got a minute?" We all know that guy. I was in the middle of my flow and every break just broke my momentum. Instead, I started blocking off longer chunks of time, usually 1 to 3 hours in the morning for uninterrupted deep work. I also blocked my calendar to avoid unnecessary meetings. I'm still doing it exactly this way, and I found that if I set a timer for 1 hour, I fall much quicker into a deep flow state the moment the timer starts. It's not about doing a hard stop when the timer runs out, but about getting a sense of how much time has passed. I simply repeat that timer to keep going. This way I always push to get as much done as possible per hour, and I'm still surprised each time by how much deep work I can accomplish in just 1 hour. I mentioned that I block that time in my calendar. This leads me to the next productivity method that many people swear by. Time blocking guarantees productivity. I used to think that filling my calendar with strict time blocks would make me more organized. I even used my task manager's calendar integration to block every minute of my day on autopilot. But man, as a busy professional, when you are handling 20 global projects and might suddenly pulled into an audit or a production issue, your schedule can fall apart very quickly. What worked better for me was keeping one big block for my main deep work, the highlight of my day, and a flexible block later for shallow work, such as emails and smaller, low-energy tasks. This approach was far more realistic than a rigid minute-by-minute plan. By completing that one big task in the morning, the rest of the day became a bonus. Unexpected events didn't hit as hard anymore, because I knew The work that truly matters to move me toward my goals was already done. The final missing time block was a morning and afternoon routine to keep things running smoothly without needing to think about it. There are many small tasks we need to complete daily, so these simple checklists ensured that nothing fell through the cracks and that I stayed on top of any work system I was part of in that company. Myth number 4. GTD is the ultimate productivity system. I struggled to manage all my tasks efficiently. And at least back then, GTD was the big thing, so I gave it a try. But I found myself spending more time managing my to-do list than actually getting work done. It felt like I was organizing work instead of making progress. I kept feeling that it was me, and I just didn't get it. Later I learned from many of our paperless movement members that they had the same trouble. It felt like extra work, and in my opinion, a productivity system should never add any extra work to an already overloaded day. What really helped was simplifying my approach and focusing on a few key actions that moved me forward. The key here was to really define what a goal, project and task really means. Many people use those words daily, but it's very vague when you challenge what they really are. The same, and even more, applies to priorities. All those tools give you high, mid and low priority, sometimes even urgent. But what does that really mean? Let's move on to myth number 5. The Eisenhower matrix is your ultimate prioritization tool. When I tried to wrap my head around priority setting, I came across the Eisenhower matrix, which recommends sorting tasks into 4 categories. Urgent and important, tasks you should do first. Important but not urgent, tasks to schedule. Urgent but not important, delegate those tasks, and not urgent and not important, delete those tasks. So, without giving you the graphic, can you repeat what I just said? It never naturally stuck with me that I immediately knew which category a task belonged in when I encountered it. In my opinion, it was overly complicated. This led me to implement a much more straightforward approach, which was adopted by over 1,000 people in that company where I was working at. The thing is, if goals are set and projects created accordingly, any task within that project is already the highest priority. There's no mid or low priority because those are just noise. This also means that whenever I'm working on any of the tasks defined by a project, I'm moving towards the goals that led to those projects. So the only additional priority I had to consider was urgent. What could be more important than goal-orientated tasks? Well, tasks that impact business continuity. That's it. 2 priorities. With this, I was able to align my team to focus on what really matters. Whenever a task came in that wasn't aligned with our goals or related to any of our current projects, the team just had to ask themselves if it was urgent enough to stop working on what really matters. Mid and low priority tasks are usually optimization requests and ideas. Therefore, we move them to what we now call the idea incubator in the ICOR methodology. It's a list of tasks reviewed quarterly to determine if they are suitable for the upcoming quarter. Why quarterly? Because that's when we do our quarterly goal reviews too. Which leads me to the next myth. Myth number 6. Yearly goal planning is the way to go. I used to dread yearly review meetings. Walking in, expecting to celebrate my hard work only to find out I missed a goal. That was incredibly frustrating. I was putting in 10 to 13 hours a day, sometimes 6 days a week, and still falling short. I eventually realized I was caught up in shallow work, a never-ending list that kept me busy without making real progress, plus endless meetings that could have been an email. Shallow work and meetings are important to keep things running, but it shouldn't take over your day. I realized I relied too much on the guidance of my team leader, playing the blame game, as I thought it was her job to keep me on track. The moment I took responsibility for my own planning and forced myself to get an overview of all the moving parts in my job, it not only gave me clarity, but also the option to say no to random things appearing every day. I now had a tangible reason to say no. Whereas before I just had a gut feeling, stress and busyness whenever someone asked me to help with something out of scope. It's not about saying no. It's about realizing what impact it will have on the overall progress of what was planned. To achieve this, I changed my goal planning approach. I switched to quarterly planning. A 90-day time frame is much more tangible than planning for a whole year. Don't you agree? Breaking those 90 days down into weekly goals helped me see exactly where I stood and adjust as needed. In the corporate world I was working in, yearly goals were fixed though, but by slicing them into quarters, I pushed myself to achieve what was originally planned for a year. At the end of each quarter, I do a quarterly goals review to see how I was progressing and if I was still on track. It's amazing how much one can get done in 3 months with highly focused work. And if I wasn't able to achieve a goal in 90 days, then I knew why and had an estimation of how much more time I'd need to accomplish it. This helped me avoid that frantic rush at the end of the year when everyone scrambles because they waited too long to start on certain goals. By setting earlier deadlines, I've increased the pressure to complete the task sooner. That brings me to the next myth. Myth number 7. Deadlines kill creativity. I used to worry that strict deadlines would kill my creativity, but I've learned they can actually sharpen your focus. According to Parkinson's law, if you set aside a specific block of time for a task, whether it's an hour, a day or a week, the task will stretch to fill that period, forcing you to cut through distractions and zero in on what really matters. I found that delivering about 80% of a task's quality is usually more than enough. Most folks see that as nearly perfect. Chasing that last 20% of perfection can drain your energy, proving that sometimes perfect really is the enemy of good. Instead of sweating over every tiny detail, I learned to appreciate that extra effort rarely adds meaningful value. I now know that this idea ties in perfectly with the Pareto principle. It suggests that roughly 80% of results come from 20% of your efforts, meaning that achieving 80% quality often delivers most of the perceived value, while the last 20% demands disproportionately more energy. It's not about ditching deadlines entirely, it's about setting them up to push you forward. For me, deadlines are also checkpoints to see if I'm on track. So I set those deadlines 1 quarter ahead, then checked in during my quarterly review to see if I met my goals or how far I still had to go. The key is that you can trust that any task you work on each day moves you toward completing those projects and therefore your goals. This approach ensures you did your best to achieve your goals within the set time frame, allowing you to move forward as focused as possible. Myth number 8. Multitasking makes you more efficient. I used to believe that multitasking, switching between emails, meetings and project work, was the key to efficiency. But constantly jumping between different action types left me drained and unfocused. I learned that giving one task your full attention gets the job done better and faster. It's not about doing everything at once, it's about doing the right thing well. Setting tasks in a sequential order based on priorities and energy levels and splitting them into deep and shallow work blocks while leaving gaps free for unexpected events was a game changer in my whole approach to work and daily planning. I no longer had to spend time managing my calendar obsessively. I always have a clear list of tasks, and when interrupted, getting back to that list immediately gives me a feeling of control. That's where a planner application like Sansama comes into play. Many people confuse planner apps with calendar apps. If you want me to go into more detail about the differences and show you how I plan my day, let me know in the comments below. Let's go to myth number 9. Capturing everything is the key to getting things done. You've probably heard the advice to capture everything from GTD enthusiasts. I tried jotting down every idea and task that came to mind, but pretty soon my notes became a chaotic jumble of random bits. I learned to capture only what really matters, usually just a quick link or a short reference with some concrete context next to it. Keeping it simple meant my system stayed organized and I wasn't wasting time on duplicates. This note-taking method improved my speed in capturing information and helped me stay focused and present during meetings rather than trying to write down every word spoken. I then realized I had to define a single source of truth for each type of information and action. Instead of noting something down in my notebook, I'd rather go to the relevant system, for example creating a task or a comment on a task in a project management tool, and record the necessary details there. This way, that task becomes the single source of truth for any related information. So the next time I or a team member opens that task, Everything needed to complete, it is already there. No more reaching out to colleagues for information. What a time saver that became. Over time I found more and more places where information should be stored. Today I know that email should be really the last place to send any action-related information to avoid scattering information and action requests. For my personal knowledge base, I learned that I only need 3 buckets to store any type of information at the speed of thought. They are called my projects, key elements, and topics. That not only increased the speed of capturing information, but also made retrieving it a breeze. This concept is called the capturing beast and is part of the ICOR methodology we'll cover at the end of this video. Myth number 10. Find that ultimate productivity app to maximize your work efficiency. At one point, I thought using a bunch of productivity apps would make me more efficient. In reality, juggling too many apps for the same purpose scattered my information and forced me to switch between tools all day to find the information I'm looking for. I learned that less is more. Reducing the number of tools helped keep specific types of information and actions in one place and avoided constant switching. On the other hand, I also don't believe there will ever be a one-size-fits-all tool for everything. As promising as it sounds to have just one app to access it all, that will never happen for people like us who juggle too many different objects, projects, information, emails, meetings, personal notes, team communication, etc. This is where the single source of truth principle becomes crucial. As long as you are using tools for what they were made for, you'll be highly efficient. The moment you force things to work in a tool that wasn't designed for them, making workarounds, you end up dropping in efficiency. It's like using the back of a screwdriver to hammer in a nail or a hammer to get that screw into the wall. With this understanding, you can scale your productivity system and tool stack endlessly. The only question you should always ask yourself is, do you know immediately, without thinking, where to retrieve a specific type of information or what to work on next? If not, then you haven't defined your specific tools yet. Myth number 11. Using templates and productivity tools will make you more productive. Templates are often marketed as quick fixes and all-in-one solutions, especially in more complex tools like Notion and ClickUp. But I found them too rigid for my specific needs. When your priorities shift, a one-size-fits-all template quickly becomes a source of frustration. The ultimate problem is that these templates are too rigid. They are designed to work for general use case, but when you try to make them fit your specific needs, they often don't work and you start feeling like the problem is you. Because the template creator may suggest that it works in any case and offer workarounds. However, a combination of highly specialized tools that you understand and can adapt to your needs will often be more effective. And if the template is no longer updated, that's a real issue, especially if the creator decides to stop supporting it. In my opinion, we are already dependent on the developer's success of our tools that we use. That's why using well-established tools is so important. I also noticed that these templates often include courses on how to use them, which can be complicated and time-consuming to even get started with. In my opinion, this is not a viable option if your day is already filled with actual work. I don't want to add extra tasks when these solutions typically focus on just one aspect of the productivity system, such as knowledge management or project management, leaving you with tools that don't integrate well with my work or my team overall. If you want to work with a team, you have to teach them complicated setups that you might not even understand yourself, which makes the whole system too rigid and frustrating to use. The other danger with templates is that they often leverage tools features in a way that you don't understand. So you end up relying on the person who created the course and the template. And if you want to customize or troubleshoot, you're forced to go back to the creator, or the next tool update might break your whole system overall. So here's the thing, I shifted my focus from templates to customizing my tools according to tool-agnostic business processes and workflows. The key here is tool-agnostic. I approach tools in a complete different manner. I aim to keep the system as simple as possible, ensuring that managing these tools remains balanced with the benefit of quickly finding information when needed. This approach provided my team and me with greater freedom, reduced stress, and saved us hours. spend searching for and requesting essential information to complete our tasks. Myth number 12. Rigid systems adapt to real-life professional challenges. From my experience with templates and many highly praised productivity methods, I have learned that no single rigid productivity system can effectively manage the unpredictable nature of real work as a busy professional. Meetings, last-minute emails, and unexpected projects happen all the time. A system that can't bend is bound to break. I needed an approach that could adapt quickly without turning my day into chaos. That's why the most important tools in my personal productivity arsenal: a robust personal knowledge management system, a task manager to keep track of the tasks that personally affect me, and a planner that aligns those tasks with my daily availability. Myth number 13. Motivation is the key to productivity. I used to wait for a burst of motivation to carry me through the day. Those big pushes where I got so much done, followed with days of less outcomes. This way to work is pretty unreliable. Some days I have plenty of energy, other days not so much. What really made the difference was establishing a solid productivity system that runs on autopilot. Having clear priorities and daily routines ensure that I can keep moving forward on autopilot even when motivation or energy is low. This way, I always have that feeling of daily progress. That's why we say that having a well-established productivity system end-to-end will help you achieve your goals on autopilot. After all these trials and errors, I discovered that real productivity isn't about chasing the latest hack or capturing every little detail. I also realized that trying to implement fixes and methods for different parts of my productivity system makes it hard to see the full picture. For me as a busy professional, it's really about knowing what truly matters, setting clear priorities, and creating routines that let you focus deeply when needed, while still handling everyday tasks. And here's the best part. All these lessons, along with decades of hard-earned experience from my friend Paco Quintero, our co-founder and multi-business owner, who manages over 70 people without a personal assistant, led us to merge our conclusions into one comprehensive methodology that we call ICOR. ICOR stands for Input, Control, Output, Refine. It's a business-proven methodology that truly defines an end-to-end productivity system in a work-life context. This approach is really the culmination of our journey as busy professionals, figuring out how not only to survive in business, but to thrive while still enjoying a fulfilling personal life. And we know it's working, as it has already been successfully applied by thousands of busy professionals in the Paperless Movement membership. Check out our wall of love to see all the amazing stories others have shared about ICOR so far. If my conclusions resonate with you, Paco and I are personally here to help you take control of your own productivity journey. Join our free membership and start your ICOR journey today. And if you prefer reading, we have also published a book that explains the entire methodology comprehensively too. If you want to learn more about the specifics of my corporate life, I created another video on this channel. In it, I share my experience in greater detail, giving you a complete picture of my journey from starting up to quitting my job to continue the paperless movement journey full time. Guys, thanks for watching, and I can't wait to hear your stories in the comments below. Remember, it's not about being busy, it's about doing the right things in the right way.
Paperless movement, your productivity.